we're going to introduce today iPad 2, the second generation iPad. So, what is iPad 2?
With iPad 2, we've made advances in both form and function that are so significant and far-reaching. I can't think of a product that has defined an entire category and has then been completely redesigned in such a short period of time.
The iPad 2 was released on March 2nd, 2011 and was supported across 5 iOS versions. And to be completely honest, it was supported this long for a reason. And it was, in my opinion, the best iPad ever to release. And even some things to this day still work if you know what you're doing. Of course, in like jailbreaking and stuff. And it is usually more practical if you are running iOS 9. And of course, iOS 9 does not run as well on a iPad 2. But like this is on iOS 4. So it's not going to be the most practical is what I'm saying. I have made videos where I've used this for a day mainly. But anyway, let's just get into the specifications, okay? The iPad 2 is a massive upgrade over the first generation iPad, which released a year prior in 2010. It had now a dual-core A5 processor compared to the single-core A4 of the iPad 1, and it completely blows it out of the water. It had double the RAM, resulting in a complete performance increase in both GPU and CPU intensive applications, and allowed it to last until iOS 9, and it features a much more slimmer, thinner, I don't know what I'm saying. It was a lot lighter and it was a lot more thin. And comparing this to like iPads that have released recently, this thing completely holds up. So yeah, it featured a much more cleaner design, and comparing it, like it's about 0.34 inches or like 8.8 millimeters, this iPad 2. And it was very light, it was not very hefty, and it was also the first iPad to feature a camera. It was not a very good camera, and it was about 0.7 megapixels, and the screen was still not Retina, which is kind of funny because they could have at this point, I feel like they should have implemented Retina immediately with the iPad 2. That's probably my only complaint with the iPad 2 is that it's not Retina, because at the time, you had phones like the iPhone 4, which was the first phone to feature a Retina display, and in that same year, the iPhone 4S would also come out with another Retina display. But of course, the iPad 2 was on 4.3 as its original version, and it goes through 4.3 like butter. Mine is on 4.3.5, which also happens to be the last version. It is running it natively. It is the last, probably the first time this thing has been updated. And it's top of the line. It's 64 gigs, which is pretty nice. And yeah, the screen was still not Retina. It was about like 1024 by 768 resolution, and the standard size of the screen was about 9.7 inches, which lasted up until whenever this design was ditched with the iPad Air 1, I believe, when they ditched out this design. Because yeah, this design lasted to the iPad 4, which is pretty cool. I also have an iPad 4, so I might as well go show you. I gotta be careful with this iPad because this iPad 4 is pretty much a near mint device. But anyway, you can see it is pretty much the same exact design. The iPad 4 is of course more heftier because of the Retina display, but yeah, this is probably still my favorite in the collection, to be honest. It runs, it might be dead actually. That's dead, but it runs iOS 6. You can see the skeuomorphic battery icon. Next, let's get into how this iPad built the foundation for modern iPads. This iPad featured many innovations which are now staples of modern iPads, like the camera, FaceTime. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. That icon right there featured FaceTime for the first time on iOS 4, of course, and it was much thinner and lighter with a practical, more portable feel, and the gyroscope for turn-based games, which is like, I don't know if you ever, let me give you an example quickly because I can. Doodle Jump, which is a game that uses the gyroscope, and as you can see, as I turn the screen, it moves the character and it jumps on these things. But yeah. And nowadays, this is mainly used for like racing games and stuff like that, and just gaming in general. Doodle Jump still does exist, which is funny, but yeah. This iPad also cemented its lead over other tablets around this time, and its feature set made it king for years. It became a great budget option with the 16 gig model until it was discontinued in 2014. So that is why sometimes you'll see iPad 2 boxes with iOS 7 featured on it, just because it was supported that long with the 16 gig model. The specifications' long support cemented it as one of the best iPads ever made. To this day, this iPad is still talked about in legacy jailbreak collecting communities and general Apple community to this day as one of the best. In my humble opinion, I think it's the best iPad ever made. It runs amazing on almost every iOS. It doesn't even run that terrible on iOS 9. Of course, it's not the most optimal version, but it runs most everything, and it's not even that terrible. And last iOS version, I don't think it's that terrible. And it innovated in many areas which nowadays have been staples in iPads to this day. This is also the iPad of my childhood, as it was super good budget option when I was a lot smaller and I was little, and everyone had these, or like an iPad Air or an Air 2 or an iPad mini. Most common was the iPad mini, but it was either this or like an iPad 2. So yeah. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you're notified when I come out more videos. And also, let's try to get this video to 20 likes this time so it gets pushed into the algorithm. And share this with someone that might also find this interesting. This has been Derek from Certified Legacy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.